That is why we are challenging efforts by states and jurisdictions to implement discriminatory, burdensome, and unnecessary restrictions on access to the ballot.
Well, hello and welcome back to the channel. If this is your first time here, my name is Rita. I hope you all are doing well today. We're going to jump right into this. So recently, I don't know if you all saw, but Merrick Garland, our Attorney General, the United States Attorney General, gave a speech in Selma, Alabama, on Bloody Sunday at a black church where he proceeded to talk about voter ID laws and voter restrictions, specifically targeting, you guessed it, people of color. I'm going to play the clip right now, and then we're going to get into this video, what it actually means, why he showed up on Bloody Sunday, and yeah, we're going to talk about it. But for now, like I said, I'm going to play the clip.
The right to vote is still under attack. And that is why the Justice Department is fighting back. That is why one of the first things I did when I came into office was to double the size of the voting section of the Civil Rights Division. That is why we are challenging efforts by states and jurisdictions to implement discriminatory, burdensome, and unnecessary restrictions on access to the ballot, including those related to mail-in voting, the use of drop boxes, and voter ID requirements. That is why we are working to block the adoption of discriminatory redistricting plans that dilute the vote of black voters and other voters of color.
So as you can see, Merrick Garland is promoting, and not just promoting, drop boxes and mail-in ballots, but he is or mail-in voting. He is also saying that the Justice Department is going to fight the states for trying to implement restrictive voter laws that negatively impact black people, is what he's trying to say. He's saying that voter ID laws restrict people of color. Now, why is this important? First of all, this is ridiculous. I'm pretty sure everybody in that church has some form of identification. Probably all of them have driver's licenses, credit cards, etc., etc. So why is he at this particular church on Bloody Sunday talking about, and we're gonna talk about the significance of Bloody Sunday too, and it's a lot deeper actually, I think, than what a lot of people realize. And so, but why is he there? What is he talking about? These people have ID, but he's talking about people of color. So remember, not very long ago, we did a video here where we talked about how the federal government and a lot of these three-letter agencies, the Department of State, we went to their website, and remember how they said they were going to start cracking down, whatever that means. I'm paraphrasing, but basically cracking down on people for calling migrants illegal, because there's no such thing as an illegal person. We have heard our politicians say this over and over again, no such thing as an illegal person. And so we also talked about in that video, and I will put it here for those of you who haven't seen it, we also talked about in that video how they are pushing to get migrants civically engaged, which, as you know, when you start talking about civics, we're talking about government, we're talking about voting. So I find it interesting that in his little speech, he talks about people of color having barriers for voting. Now, we all know that there are no barriers to voting. Most black people have ID. You know who doesn't have ID? Illegals. They don't have proper identification to be able to vote. They don't have any identification. Even the one that get work IDs, that's not proper identification to vote. But some states are trying to even change that. States like Illinois are changing the IDs that they give to illegals to look almost identical to the ones given to the citizens. So this little speech here, the fact that he gave it at a black church at a church where I'm sure everybody, I'd be willing to bet, has proper ID and has not had barriers to vote since the 60s. Why is he giving that speech there? Well, I can come up with two plausible reasons. One, because he is trying to garner sympathy from Black folk. He is trying to fearmonger Black folk, or not just he, but the entire Democrat Party, right? He's trying to get people to rally behind it. And he's actually talking about different different legislative actions or different legal actions that the federal government is willing to embark upon toward the states in order to thwart the states' plans to not have people cheating. Basically, a lot of states have banned, or a lot of states have passed laws to say drop boxes are not legal, which they aren't in some states. They weren't in some states. But our federal government got involved and encouraged the states, working with nonprofits the same way they're working with or non-government agents, non-government organizations, the same way they're working with said government organizations to run these migrants through here. Those organizations are the same ones who are setting up all these get out the vote campaigns, and they are working collectively to do things like put drop boxes in neighborhoods or in states where it's constitutionally where it's unconstitutional to do so. But, as we've seen, this administration, they do not care about laws. These prosecutors, these DAs, and this AG, they do not care about the laws of this country, nor do they care about the actual citizens of this country. But you know what they do care about? What they do care about is their agenda. And we're talking about Brandon Johnson over in Chicago. We're talking about Merrick Garland. We're talking about the White House and everybody, all these non-government organizations. It is high time for Democrats out there who are classical liberals. It is high time that you face the facts that your party has been completely taken over by communists and socialists. Okay, so let me quantify or qualify what I'm talking about here. So this Bloody Sunday, I went to look up Bloody Sunday because, to be quite honest, I didn't really know what it was. You hear terms and things in the ether, but you don't really know what they mean or how it's being applied, the context or anything like that. So I looked up Bloody Sunday just to see what it said, and I stumbled upon the History Channel. I'm not going to read the entire page to you guys, but the top of it says how Selma's Bloody Sunday became a turning point in the civil rights movement. The assault on civil rights marchers in Selma, Alabama helped lead to the Voting Rights Act. Now, it says, I'll just start off with the first line. Nearly a century after the Confederacy's guns fell silent, the racial legacies of slavery and Reconstruction continued to reverberate loudly throughout Alabama in 1965. And then they talk about John Lewis, how he led 600 marchers. This was in March 1965, March 7th, to be exact, when Merrick Garland spoke to commemorate, Bloody Sunday. So John Lewis led over 600 marchers across the Edmund Pettus Bridge in Selma, Alabama, and faced brutal attacks by oncoming state troopers. Footage of the violence collectively shocked the nation and galvanized the fight against racial injustice. I thought this was really interesting. When I first looked it up, I went to the Library of Congress. If you guys are not familiar with the Library of Congress, you should definitely check it out. So I went there. And although some things have been supposed to be historical documents, periodicals, newspapers, all that stuff, pictures, but some of that stuff has changed and a lot of propaganda has been added, like newer information, but you can still look up old newspapers and stuff. Very helpful for that. So I looked up Bloody Sunday, and here is what I found. The Russian Revolution born 13 years ago on Bloody Sunday. What revolution, you might be asking? There was a celebration of Bloody Sunday in Cincinnati, January 22nd. The socialists of this city and vicinity will commemorate the anniversary of Bloody Sunday, which was the beginning of the Russian Revolution, by holding a mass meeting this evening. Several prominent socialists will address the meeting, and it is expected a handsome sum will be realized, which will be sent to the Revolutionary Committee in Russia. Okay, so Bloody Sunday is a commemoration of the socialist revolution that happened in Russia. The revolutionaries, the socialist revolutionaries in Russia at the time overthrew the government that was in place, and here is what was said about the government that was in place, okay, and what happened. Now, by the way, there were multiple celebrations on this day. Every year, apparently, in socialist circles, there is a celebration of Bloody Sunday. I find it interesting that the Civil Rights Movement march in Selma, Bloody Sunday, has been conflated with the socialist revolution that took place in Russia. Coincidence? You tell me. So, in St. Petersburg on January 26th, the various nihilistic and socialistic groups all over the country celebrated the anniversary of Bloody Sunday. Today, in a rather quiet manner, several attempts were made in the provinces to commemorate the day in an open way by demonstrations, but in every case, the police authorities interfered and hostile demonstrations were suppressed. Many arrests were made. Now, this commemoration of Bloody Sunday went on in Brussels, Toronto, Boston, New York. They all had a celebration of Bloody Sunday, which was when the socialist revolution rose up against the evil bourgeois capitalist and in Russia, and that they were hopeful and that they were excited about the fact that this revolution was spreading into the Western world. Now, I'm going to read this one little passage here at the end of this article. And of course, as always, I will share these links below to the Library of Congress. You don't have to log in or anything to view the article. I'm going to link it, like I said, below, like I always do. But I'm going to read here what it actually says about this movement. Okay. The climax came last March. Okay. And this is talking about the actual revolution that happened. Okay. Again, they planned and waited. And in March 1917, the Tsar, Russian Tsar, was finally overthrown. The history of the last 10 months has electrified the world. The bourgeoisie obtained control of the government and set about establishing a republic, which is what we are, by the way. We are not a democracy. We are a republic, but they keep calling us a democracy. So note that. They were overthrown by a coalition of socialists and liberals who attempted to establish a democratic, capitalistic republic, and they in turn were overthrown by the left-wing socialists who today are forming the first socialist republic of the world. Again, this is all about Bloody Sunday, okay, and where this phrase all began. So is it a coincidence then that our Attorney General, okay, who is wanting to release illegals into our country, is it any question at all as to why he showed up at this church on Bloody Sunday to talk about voter suppression and how he's going to fight the states? Now, mind you, the socialist vision is not that states have control. Okay, in this country, the United States, the states primarily decide what the citizens in their state want. That's why we vote. We vote in local elections. That's why, because we want our states to be able to speak for us, right? Socialists are not like that. They are big government. That is what big government means. They think that the federal government should have complete and utter control over elections and everything else. They don't think the states should have any control. Never mind that every state is different, comes with its own culture, people, all that stuff. It doesn't matter. They think that the bigger the government, the more control, the better. Merrick Garland showed up at this church to talk about voter ID suppression. And I hope that somebody at some point went up to him and said, "Hey, buddy, we all have ID. So what is this really about?" I'm going to tell you, this is really about getting illegals to vote, getting Black people to get on board and get behind this idea that there is voter suppression and that all people of color should be able to vote, because they want illegals to vote. So the Democrat Party, the White House, the Department of Homeland Security, all these agencies are working in tandem in order to stifle the states regarding voting and everything else. So they accuse everybody else of trying to suppress the vote. But they are the ones trying to kick Donald Trump off the ballot. So basically they're telling you, no, you don't have a choice in the matter. We're going to put on here who we want to put on here. They are telling you that they are going to fight states. Now, remember, when they're fighting states, they're fighting the people, the citizens of the states who are actually voting for local representatives to represent them before the federal government. What he is saying is that his department is going to be fighting. The Attorney General stood up there and basically, under the guise of voter repression, he is going to fight the citizens who are wanting tougher voter laws, who want to have to show your ID, who don't want drop boxes, because we have all seen, they try to deny it, but we've seen the midnight dumps at the drop box. But this guy is standing here saying, nope, we're going to fight states who don't want drop boxes. Yeah, we're going to fight states who have a problem with mail-in ballots. So everything that basically enables, makes it easier to cheat, he is going to fight the states to say, no, we want this in your state. You got to understand that this is bigger than, like I've said before, this is bigger than just the Democrat party's kind of what they're doing, because they want more workers here and they want more. Because it's good for business that they, get illegals in here to do the jobs that Americans don't want to do. Listen, that's not true. There are plenty of Americans. This is just their spiel. There are plenty of Americans who are willing to work these jobs. Don't be fooled. Okay, everybody doesn't want to sit in the office and cross their legs and talk on a phone or be at a computer. Okay, not everybody wants to do that, but I know these elite people, they think that, the creme de la creme of society, this is what they do, right? Pontificate at coffee shops and sit in offices all day to point there and look down their noses at everybody else to say, oh, we know you're mad because you're not able to do what we do. We know you're mad because you're a working class person. You're a white rural rager, or you are a poor black girl who can't read and don't know how to get ID. So this is their whole thing is they're classist. It's not about race. They are classist. They look down their nose at people who they think are beneath them, which is why they are opening the borders and allowing people from the third world in here, because as far as they're concerned, we're all peasants anyway. So if they plop a bunch of Venezuelans on the south side of Chicago, what do they care? What do they care? It's bigger than what people are talking about. And it's what I always say. And this, to me, this little speech Merrick Garland gave is a perfect example of the fact that these people are committed to the party, not the Democrat Party, the Progressive Socialist Party. The same way these people were committed to overthrow the Tsar in Russia, and they called it Bloody Sunday because a lot of them died trying to overthrow, but they eventually won and got the USSR out of it. And Russia went through a long time of standing in cheese and bread lines. And that's what they want for us here. While of course, the elites who were in control of the revolution, they all got to buy summer homes and everything else and live off the backs of everyone else, even the people who were supposedly pro-party, and help them overthrow the government. That is what they want to institute here. Brandon Johnson, Merrick Garland, a lot of them, almost all of them, want that here. So I just thought it was interesting that they are still on this voter suppression thing, and they are trying to get the people they deem as the poor, the working class, the marginalized, the BIPOC, and all this stuff. They're trying to get all these people on board with pushing this voting rights thing, because what they really want for the illegals to come in here, have a bunch of kids, and then push abortion on the American citizens, And they want to push that on us. They want to make that 24/7, up to 9 months, even post-birth for some places. They're pushing that on us. So they want us to depopulate while people who are used to living in socialist countries repopulate. Think about that. Anyway, that's just something that I noticed and that I was thinking. But what do you think about Merrick Garland's speech? And what do you think about this Bloody Sunday deal and the juxtaposition of the Civil Rights Act? Some people do say the Civil Rights Act, John Lewis, the whole thing was birthed out of socialism. But let me know what you guys think. Until next time, take care. Ciao. God bless.